What if I told you that grapes, the small fruit we casually eat today, were already growing on Earth millions of years before humans even existed? And even stranger, the grapes we enjoy today were once almost wiped out by a tiny insect that nearly destroyed vineyards across the entire world. So how did this ancient fruit survive prehistoric forests, travel across continents, influence civilizations, and still end up in markets and kitchens everywhere today? To understand that, we need to go far back in time to a world long before agriculture, before cities, and even before humans. Millions of years ago, the Earth looked very different. Vast forests covered huge parts of the northern hemisphere. Towering trees formed dense canopies while countless plants competed for sunlight beneath them. Among these plants were climbing vines that slowly wrapped around tree trunks and branches, stretching upward toward the light. These vines were the early ancestors of modern grapes. Fossil evidence suggests that grape relatives existed more than 60 million years ago, long before farms, markets, or civilizations appeared. Wild grapevines were already spreading naturally across Europe, Asia, and the Middle East. But these ancient grapes were very different from the sweet fruit we know today. Their berries were smaller, more bitter, and filled with large seeds. They grew high in forest trees and survived entirely on their own. Birds and animals likely played an important role in spreading the seeds. After eating the fruit, they carried the seeds across forests and valleys, allowing grapevines to slowly expand into new regions. For millions of years, grapes remained simply another wild fruit of the forest, unnoticed by humans and untouched by cultivation. Everything began to change when humans entered the story. Around 10 to 11,000 years ago, as the last ice age ended and the climate slowly warmed, early human communities began settling near rivers and fertile valleys. One region in particular, between the Black Sea and the mountains of modern Iran, became an important center of early human activity. In these forests, people discovered wild grapevines hanging from trees and spreading across riverbanks. The fruit was sweet, juicy, and easy to gather. It provided energy and could be eaten fresh or dried. But something unusual happened when grapes were crushed and left inside containers made from clay or stone. After some time, the juice began to change. Natural yeast living on the skins of grapes started feeding on the sugar inside the juice. Slowly, the liquid began to ferment and turn into wine. This transformation happened naturally, without anyone planning it. Yet this accidental discovery would quietly shape human culture for thousands of years. Wine quickly became more than just a drink. It was used in celebrations, rituals, and social gatherings. By about 6 to 8,000 years ago, people in the Caucasus region, especially in areas of modern Georgia and Armenia, began deliberately planting grapevines near their homes. Instead of collecting grapes from the wild, they started cultivating them. Over generations, they selected vines that produced larger berries, sweeter juice, and better harvests. Through this slow process of selection, wild grapes gradually evolved into the domesticated grapes we know today. Archaeologists have discovered ancient clay jars buried underground in this region containing chemical traces of wine that are more than 8,000 years old. These discoveries suggest that organized winemaking may have started here earlier than anywhere else in the world. From this region, grapes slowly began spreading outward as human societies expanded and trade networks developed. Ancient civilizations soon recognized the value of vineyards. In Mesopotamia and Egypt, wine became a prized commodity. Along the fertile banks of the Nile River, vineyards were carefully planted and managed. Tomb paintings from ancient Egypt show workers harvesting grapes, pressing them, and storing wine in large sealed jars. However, wine was not an everyday drink for most people. In many cases, it was reserved for royalty, priests, and powerful officials. While ordinary people more commonly drank beer, grapes continued traveling farther as trade networks grew. The Phoenicians, famous seafaring merchants of the ancient Mediterranean, played a major role in spreading grapevines. As they established trading colonies along the Mediterranean coast, they carried grape plants with them. Later, Greek settlers continued expanding vineyards throughout their growing world. Grapes soon appeared across Greece, southern Italy, coastal Spain, and parts of southern France. But the greatest transformation of grape cultivation happened under one powerful empire, Rome. Before continuing the story, it's worth pausing for a moment. Many of the foods we see every day carry histories far deeper than we imagine. If you enjoy uncovering the hidden past behind ordinary foods, consider subscribing to the channel so you don't miss more stories like this. The Romans loved wine so much that they transformed grape cultivation into a science. They carefully studied vineyard layouts, arranging vines to receive the best sunlight and airflow. Roman farmers developed pruning techniques to control how vines grew, improving both the quality and quantity of grapes. They also refined fermentation and storage methods, using clay vessels and wooden barrels to preserve wine and transport it across the empire. Through observation and experimentation, the Romans turned grape growing into a sophisticated agricultural system. As Roman armies and settlers expanded across Europe, they brought grapevines with them. Vineyards began appearing in regions that today are famous wine producers, including France, Spain, and Germany. By the height of the Roman Empire, grapes had become one of the most important cultivated fruits in Europe. Wine became part of daily life, and Roman culture helped establish vineyard traditions that still influence wine production today. After the Roman Empire collapsed, many vineyards disappeared. Trade routes weakened and agricultural knowledge declined in several regions. Yet grapes survived in an unexpected place: monasteries. Christian monks needed wine for religious ceremonies, so monasteries continued cultivating grapevines even during periods of political instability. Over centuries, monks carefully studied soils, climates, and grape varieties, preserving important vines and maintaining knowledge of viticulture. Many famous European wine regions today can trace their origins back to these medieval monastery vineyards. But grapes would soon face the greatest threat in their long history. In the 19th century, a tiny insect called phylloxera began attacking grapevine roots across Europe. The pest had accidentally been brought from North America and quickly spread through vineyards. The damage was catastrophic. Within decades, millions of vineyards were destroyed and entire wine industries collapsed. Farmers feared that grapes, a crop cultivated for thousands of years, might disappear entirely. Scientists eventually discovered a surprising solution. American grape species were naturally resistant to the insect. By grafting European grapevines onto American root systems, farmers were able to protect their vineyards. This technique saved grape cultivation around the world and is still widely used today. Today, grapes are one of the most widely grown fruits on earth. Thousands of varieties exist, and they are used for fresh fruit, raisins, juices, and wine. Yet nearly all of them trace their ancestry back to the same domesticated species first cultivated thousands of years ago, near the Caucasus Mountains. A fruit that once climbed wild trees in prehistoric forests now grows in vineyards across nearly every continent, and its journey is still continuing. Because grapes are not just another fruit on our tables, they are one of the oldest companions of human civilization, quietly growing beside us for thousands of years while shaping cultures, traditions, and agriculture across the world.